This is Adsy Talks. Adsy Talks. Adsy Talks.
What if everything you learned about SEO in the last 10 years is basically useless now? Welcome to Adsy Talks, where we don't sugarcoat it, we have hard conversations with people who are shaping the future of search. I'm Anthony, head of customer experience at Adsy, and if you're already tired of clickbait like SEO is dead, SEO is not dead, SEO is alive again, just like I am, you're in the right place in the right time. And today we're digging into the truth behind the end of traditional SEO with exactly the right person, Michael King. Mike is the founder and SEO of iPullRank, a USA Today top 10 SEO expert, a rapper, and much more. Mike, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Okay, so I'm really glad you're here because this topic triggers people, especially SEOs who've been doing this for the last 10, 15 years. And just to set expectations, this won't be just do this one trick episode. We'll be digging deep and deconstructing everything. Michael, you said before that traditional SEO is effectively over. Let's try to start there. What exactly is ending and what replaces it?
So I don't know that I said it's over. Maybe I did. I don't know. But what I have been saying is that SEO is deprecated. And what I mean by that is if you keep doing what you've always been doing, you're not going to get the same level of results that you used to, right? Because one, things have changed so dramatically for how the user interacts with these systems. And also, what they care about is changing a bit as well. And we have more visibility into what that is. You know, the various leaks from Google, also just the fact that everything that's being built for generative AI is being built right in front of us. You can read the papers and the patents that, DeepMind and Google Research and all the various universities and other companies like Meta and so on are doing. Like, they're sharing everything. So there's no reason that we can't know what to do here, right? So we have stronger feedback loops. A lot of historic SEO has been like intuition, or you just follow this checklist of best practices. Now you can build environments that replicate what these systems are doing. So the core concept behind AI search is called retrieval augmented generation. It's where you're combining a search engine with a large language model. And like I said, there's open source equivalents for all of this. And this idea didn't come from Google. It came from Facebook. They were the first ones to come up with this, and they wrote this paper. And, obviously all these ideas spread to the other different companies. So my point here is that we can know a lot more, and it's not this guess and check that it used to be. But people are still just doing their checklist and being like, oh, it's just SEO. And I think it's our opportunity to evolve beyond that. But so many people are just, whatever their motivations are, I don't want to speculate, but they want to maintain the status quo when now is the worst time to do that.
Yeah, and speaking about the outdated, I still see that some people are doing traditional keyword research, building links, optimizing titles, and it's still working for them. So are they just lucky or are we being dramatic? So what specifically stopped working from what you mentioned and people don't realize it yet?
Let me be clear, because there's a lot of overlap in tactics between classic search and AI search. And when I say AI search, I'm not just talking about AI overviews and all these other things. All the underlying things in Google are AI search. So there's no real distinction between the two things. Now, sure, can you make a page title 60 characters and it performs? Absolutely. But the 60 character best practice was never a thing. Google themselves have said, like, hey, there is no limit to the page title. We will review anything you put in that tag. It's just that visibly it is truncated. And so we've all had our best practice around that. But the reality is, if you make a title that's like 200 characters, what they'll do is rewrite it using the component that's most relevant, and then you'll get a higher click-through rate than the person doing the 60 character page title. So my point is, like, a lot of our best practices are out of date. They don't necessarily align with how the systems function. And yes, you can do the standard best practice, but you're going to see a lot of diminishing returns. And if your whole frame is like, well, I followed the SEO best practices and things aren't working like I expected, that is obsolete. Like, what you should be doing is continually testing to see where that line is for your situation. The only reason I know that having these really long page titles works better is because we've done that experiment a number of times. And again, because so many people in SEO are just like, hey, I read this blog post that says these are the 30 things that I do, and then they do them. Well, functionally, a lot of the web will be that. And so, of course, that's what Google has to choose from. But the people that are going beyond that to figure out, like, where are the lines of performance are seeing better performance than those checklist SEOs.
I see. Yeah. Well, that's obvious, and because of that, we established that SEO is not actually dead. It didn't disappear. It just changed. It changes according to the new tech that we are getting, and that is why it's very important, to adapt, to combine best practices from the past, because obviously they are still working, and combining them with everything new that we have with this AI technology. And Mike, you introduced the concept, let me quote it, the relevance engineering. Can you unpack what does it mean?
Sure. So relevance engineering is the confluence of information retrieval, AI, content strategy, UX, and digital PR. And you'll notice I didn't say SEO in that list because you can be a good SEO, and really what you are is a power user of Google, right? Like, advanced search operators, regex, you know how to configure Google Search Console, but that doesn't necessarily mean you know how things work, right? Like, you may just know from your experience, like, hey, I've done these things and it's yielded good results, like you're talking about, right? But with how fast things are changing, understanding how things actually work is really valuable right now. And it's part of why we get such good results, because we understand how these systems function. Like, when I talk about rag, well, I know that, that means that these systems are looking at the page on a passage level, and then they're taking passages from a variety of different places, and then they're recombining them. And so what I also know about that is that they're running a series of synthetic queries in the background, and they're pulling from a variety of pages, not just the page that ranks for my target keyword. So if I didn't know that, I wouldn't know how to actually get into an AI overview or how to get into a response for ChatGPT, because I would just be optimizing for that target keyword. And yeah, some percentage of that may work, but you're trying to get to a space where a high percentage of what you're doing is working. And, there's been some data on this, right? Like, it was data from Zip Tie from like a year ago, where they showed that if you were in the top 10 for your target keyword, you basically had a 1 in 4 chance of being in ChatGPT, of being in AI overviews, of being in Perplexity. And a 1 in 4 chance is not enough. So knowing that there's this system of synthetic queries that you also need to rank for, that tells me that we need to be optimizing across all of that. And then doing that gives us that higher percentage chance of performing. So that's what I'm saying. Like, with relevance engineering, it's more about like understanding and building things, because there's also a huge gap in SEO software as it relates to what these channels are actually doing. Your SEO software is still based on outmoded versions of search, right? Like, there is 2 versions of search, technically 3. Lexical, which is really just about counting the presence and distribution of words, and semantic, which is using AI to understand meaning, and then hybrid, which is a combination of the two. So Google's been semantic since like 2013 or so. Um, all of the AI platforms are hybrid. Google's also hybrid and has been for like 7 or so years. But almost all SEO software is lexical, right? Like if you are using any sort of content optimization tool or content editing tool that's giving you a score when you like are doing optimizations, those are all scores based on lexical analysis. They're not looking at the content in the same way that these systems are. So, effectively, a lot of what we do as SEOs is functionally obsolete. But because there is overlap between these modes, you do see improvements. But there's a lot of times you don't, right? Like where you follow all the best practices and you don't see your rankings improve. You don't see anything else improve. And you're like, well, must be my competitors. No, it's because you did it wrong. Because the thing that you are doing only works some of the time. And so with relevance engineering, it's about discovering what works most of the time and then doing it by using those 5 capabilities together.
Mhm. And when you say engineering, I already imagine how some of our people that are watching us thinking, okay, now it sounds scary because this sounds closer to data engineering than content writing. So, for example, if someone is running SEO for a small e-commerce, will that work for them, or this works only for the enterprise?
The gaps the gaps in our software makes this kind of inaccessible to some people. Like so much of the SEO software industrial complex was built on like here's a $99 a month thing that anyone can get and they can do the same thing that the enterprise can do, right? But because there's such gaps in the software, you're not able to be as competitive unless you're like more leaned into this because anyone can build software now. You can go to AI Studio and write a sentence and it'll build you a functional piece of software. And if you understand how things work, you can go to that platform and say, hey, I want you to analyze this content, using both lexical analysis and semantic analysis and give me feedback as I write. And you don't need to spend a ton of money to do it. You just need to understand like the basics of how this stuff works and then use that to inform what you need to build. So I when I say engineering, engineering can be applied in a variety of ways, right? Like we've been proponents of content engineering for a number of years as well. And that started from that lexical analysis. It started from, you know, leveraging tools that do TF-IDF and what have you. And then when we further understood that there were new levels to this that Google had gone into, it's like, all right, well, we need to fill the gap in our tooling so that our content strategists can do this. And then we have content engineers who are folks that are both content strategists and know enough Python to be able to do like natural language processing. So those things have been advantages for us here at iPullRank. But so many people are just like stuck in their ways. And again, they don't have a way out because there is no software to help them close the gap. So they're just like, well, regular SEO works because it's all I'm doing and I'm seeing results. But you're not seeing results in the way you used to see results. Like, I need everyone to just admit that so we can move on with this conversation.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you because yeah, it's always this constant fight of people, part of the people trying to be advanced using new technology, and some people tend to use the old-fashioned classical way. And speaking about the old-fashioned and new tech, this is the part where usually Slack channels explode. AI search. I see usually two camps: people that are panicking and screaming, we're losing all our traffic, and people that reply, just optimize for AI, bro. So what's your take? Are we heading towards a zero-click apocalypse, or there is a play here? How LLMs rewriting the rules of visibility right now?
AI search channels are more branding channels. They're not performance channels. I mean, they are performance channels, just not to the degree that classic search was, right? And so if you go in like, oh yeah, we're just going to do AI search and we're going to get all of our traffic back, you are going to be very badly surprised, because like the amount of click through or referral traffic that's driven by these channels is fractional as compared to what you got from classic search. The reality though is that the users that do click through are more likely to be taking action. So you end up seeing, higher conversions, or excuse me, a higher conversion rate. But again, if you want volume, that's
Mm.
not the way to go. Um, so what I would say is spend more of your time optimizing for the mid funnel, lower funnel queries for your site so that you don't lose the business value of organic search. Because to some degree, it seems like that's gonna remain. Even if we go to these other environments where, let's say, AI mode becomes more of the default. Not to say that 10 blue links I think is gonna go away entirely. Like I think that will always be an option. But even if like AI mode becomes more of the default, you can't expect to recover all of that traffic. And so going more after the mid funnel and the lower funnel, at least that means that your business is getting the value out of search, because again, if people are clicking through, they are more likely to be converting anyway. So we actually see a lot of conversions go up even though traffic goes down. Um, so yeah, I mean, if traffic is your move or your primary KPI, honestly don't know what to tell you. Like that is the traffic is not
Mhm.
coming back based on the landscape that we currently have. But if your goals are more driven around conversions, I think you can recover that and in fact still grow that through classic search.
As I understand it, is that visibility without amount of visits is the new normal right now. So everyone used to report only traffic, but right now everything changes, and we're not like collecting links like Pokemon anymore. We're building meaning inside the ecosystem, not just URLs, right?
We don't think as a community or as an industry that impressions are valuable. Any other channel, literally any other channel, measures impressions and thinks of that as a valuable thing. It's like, oh, I saw your brand. That is part of the, I am now part of, or your brand is still part of like my consideration set because I saw it. And more so than other channels, the impressions matter because you are looking for information and this is presented as an option for you. And so you are considering that information because you're in that need state of whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So, if somebody's looking for, you know, shoes for a night out. Like I want fancy shoes for a night out, and the list is like, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and whatever the brands are. That is of value because, if you see this list of shoes, you don't necessarily have to like click through and do something. You can just go to the store and buy the shoes. And so we don't take enough credit for what that channel or what our channels are doing in that regard. And I think that that is something that needs to change because otherwise, if our only value is the traffic that we drive, a lot of people are just going to be like, well, that channel's not valuable. And it just doesn't align with the reality of how people react to information.
Hmm. And let's say if search becomes conversation with AI instead of just clicking links like we used to, and AI just summarizes the information like without sending people to websites, he just gives them everything like in one place. Why would anyone then invest in SEO at all? And what's the end game here?
Um, and so brands will continue to want that visibility. And because of the overlap of classic search with these AI surfaces, the more that they begin to understand that you have to do SEO in order to be a part of those responses, they will continue to do it. It's just that the value exchange is going to change.
Let's say let's shift our conversation in this direction. if we speak about the person who is a team of one, for example, he is using all the technology that he can get right now in order to make his business alone. And if one could learn a new skill this year to stay relevant, what would it be? Like, what the most important skill to be relevant nowadays?
I would say content engineering because, you know, appearing in these AI surfaces obviously is about the content that you're talking about, but like the way they measure it is very specific. And content structure is always going to be the way in. Like they're always going to be using passages. They're always going to be responsive to structures where things are easy to extract. So the more you can understand that, and the main difference between what we were doing before and what we're doing now or should be doing now is that we have more clarity in that feedback loop. Like again, things that were reviewed in classic content editing tools or optimization tools, they look at the entirety of the page. These systems are looking at things on the passage level, and they're looking at them in a very specific way to measure relevance and to verify that information is authoritative. So learning those sorts of patterns and how you can impact them is a very important skill to have if you want to be able to like call your shot on your performance.
And speaking about the tools that one can use, I see right now that people are obsessing about AI SEO tools. They're spending like hundreds and thousands of dollars on them. And what tools are actually essential right now? What is not just a shiny object that is popular? What exactly works from SEO tools?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Profound. Like, I know that there's a lot of tools like them out there, but I just really appreciate how strong that team is and how quickly they ship things and how much they think about this from a blank slate perspective. Like, they don't have all the challenges that the legacy SEO tools have, where, they're talking about like text to code ratios and all these things that haven't mattered for a long time, but they just keep them in the platforms for whatever reasons
Just
they
in
do,
case.
right? Like, and they're not, yeah, and they're not like, like stuck in these old patterns that don't necessarily make sense. Like everything they're doing is state of the art. And I know there's a lot of platforms that are doing similar things, right? Like there's Peak, there's Athena, there's all these platforms that have popped up. If there's one that fits your price point better, like go with that. Like whatever it is, because again, they're all fundamentally addressing similar problems, right? Like where it's like, one, how do we measure visibility in these platforms? And two, what do we do? Like how do we affect it? I really appreciate, at least in the Profound tool set, that they've thought a lot about log file analysis, and they're, hooking directly into Cloudflare and the various different CDNs so that they can capture that data right away. Because there's a lot of nuances, again, that are different from classic SEO. One of the things I've more recently discovered is the 499 response code. And 499 response code, like you're not going to find that on any SEO blog post, or not on in many at least, right? Like when they talk about HTTP status codes, most people probably end at like a 429 or something like that. But 499, what that means is that the client gave up. Like it requested from something from the server, and then it didn't come back fast enough, and so it says, "Cool, I'm moving on." So what that means in these AI search environments is that because these platforms, the ones that are not Google or Bing, that don't have indices, they are crawling in real time, or they're fetching pages in real time. And so what happens is somebody puts a prompt in, they do a whole query fan out, they go out and get some pages, and then they pull things from those pages, that are going to be relevant. And so if they request your page and it takes too long, you are no longer eligible. They're going to move on. And so you wouldn't even know that Like you don't like SEO doesn't know what a 499 is. And they just look at that and be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? What that means is that your pages are too slow for AI search. And so I've seen that across a couple clients, and like it's a thing that we didn't know about, right? Like, so when you talk about evolution, I believe that it's more than a step function of growth that we need as a community, as an industry. Our software is misaligned, the education is not there, and frankly, people just don't know what to do, and they keep just saying it's just SEO when it's not.
I see. And speaking about the 49.99, yeah, it's like AI behaves as a person who was waiting for your page to load and just left because the time was too long. And the same with AI crawling. It was just waiting for your page to load for too long and just left. So yeah, I understand. Okay, Mike. So right now we will have a game with you, and this
Okay.
game will be for our listeners as well and viewers. We will call it keep, kill, or evolve. And I will be telling you some statement, SEO related statement, and you just need to say these three things, either of these three things: keep, kill, or evolve. And before we start, I just want to tell try not to use the favorite phrase it depends. Try to select only one of these three things, because
You kill or evolve.
yeah,
Got you.
it depends. Is
All right.
everyone uses this in SEO, and it's very like comfortable to use. It depends. Okay, so I will be telling you some statements and tell keep, kill, or evolve, and just a short comment on why you choose one of these three things. Okay, so let's start with the first one: keywords research tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush.
Keep.
Why?
I still think there's value in that data because it's difficult. There's not a lot of sources where you can just like look at a domain and see everything that it ranks for. Problem is, actually, no, I'm sorry, evolve. That's what I want to say. Problem is that with the whole synthetic query thing, there's a big gap in the data in that they're showing you keywords that have search volume. Synthetic queries often have no search volume. So I would want to evolve that keyword data to a point where it also has the synthetic queries as well. Maybe that's just like a separate tab, or like you click into a keyword. If it's a keyword that triggers an AI overview or whatever, also give me the query fan out queries as well, even though there's no search
I
volume.
see. Yeah, that will be really cool. Okay, next one. Guest posting for backlinks.
Evolve, not for backlinks at all. Just guest posting more to spread your messages across the web, because with AI search, it's more about your content ecosystem than it is just your website.
So it's about answering the questions, but not just giving some random information, trying to to take as much space as possible in search.
Yeah. Spread your message in a variety of places to improve the signal to AI
I
search.
see. Okay, next one. Optimizing title text and meta descriptions.
Absolutely. You must do that.
Mhm.
Keep. And no, actually, evolve. Evolve because we know that the best practice has changed. And also, as it relates to AI search, that metadata is what the systems see to then make a determination of whether or not they're even going to request your content. So having a page title that aligns with the prompt, having a meta description that gives a snapshot of what the page is about, and then also the URL having high relevance in the slug. All three of those things are what ChatGPT is going to look at to determine whether or not it wants to even open your page. So, you know, in classic SEO, we know page titles are valuable. We know that meta descriptions are not considered for ranking at all. And we know that there's a very, very small signal as it relates to URLs. Whereas in ChatGPT specifically, but also all the other AI search platforms, they're looking at those as important signals to, determine whether or not they might consider the page. So yeah, I think we need to evolve and figure out a way that we can balance the targeting on both sides.
True. And from what I can see, almost all answers to all these statements is evolve, and it does give like a signal of what actually needs to be done. So it's not about like when someone needs to stop doing something and start doing something new. It's all about like changing how you do things. In life. And the last one, tracking keyword rankings.
Evolve, because you need to track more than just the target keywords or the seed keywords. You also need to track the synthetic keywords as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. So as I've mentioned, this answers the question of where we need to be heading, and you've mentioned that the majority of these statements needs of practices that people are doing, that they need to be evolved. And speaking about Hrefs and SEMrush, we need to keep them because they allow us to keep track on what is going on. Okay, and right now, the part that I'm most excited about is your book. The coming August, you release August 2026, like that. Yeah, you released the book, The Science of SEO. Can you tell something about it?
Yeah, and it's been a long time coming because I started it before all this AI search stuff really rolled out. And, I would get to the point where I was finished and I'd be like, oh, I got to change this whole thing based on these new things that have changed. But the general idea behind the book, it's called The Science of SEO, is that everything is knowable. So what you mentioned, like the idea that everyone says it depends, I was like, I want to know what it depends on, right? And because the reality is that people join Google every day as engineers. It's not like they come in and they're taught from scratch what to do. So what can we learn from that they learn from to figure out how things actually work? So the book is broken down into three parts. The first part is really just going through like the history of information retrieval, starting from the first search engine, which was technically Archie, all the way up to like where we're at now, specifically with Google. Um, and then we get into how you would build your own search engine. So I effectively teach you how to code by building a search engine. And then the third part is like, how do you actually do this stuff? Like, how do you actually optimize to make things perform? So the idea is I'm basically trying to like put everything I know in a book so that everyone that comes after me can use that as their starting point rather than, the hard won 2 decades of experimentation and research that I've had to do to get here. And my hope is that, it acts as like the missing computer science book for SEOs so that we all can just like do our job better and get away from telling clients like it depends. Like they want tangible information on what it depends on and what they need to do. And it's my hope that the book prepares people to do that.
Yeah, I see. Well, actually, this is really like relevant because what you've mentioned about that you want people to start where you left off is actually like relevant to everything in our life because like the science, the technology, it evolves because people are sharing their background, their knowledge for other people to start where they left off. So yeah, it's actually like really cool, and I like this concept, and I'm really excited to hold it in my hands or read it in electronic format. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. Okay, and in this case, I think this is all I had for today. I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I also want to highlight for our viewers or listeners to check iPullRank, follow My King on LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course, grab the Science of SEO when it drops.
Yeah.
Okay, so of course, also share this episode, tag anyone who's still doing SEO like it's 2015. And of course, subscribe to Adsy Talks and see you in the next episode.
Thanks for having me.
This is Adsy Talks.